You're listening to the Intuitive Souls podcast. I am your host, Erica Russo, and this podcast is designed to educate, inspire, and enlighten. Let's wake up together. Hello and welcome to the Intuitive Souls podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I am glad the universe led you here. My name is Erica Russo from SibylAndSarah.com, and today I just wanted to talk to you guys, and I wanted to open up about a part of me that I haven't really spoken about publicly, and I just felt like it was time for me to talk about it because I am actually attending a workshop for it. So, if you don't already know, I am a medium, and a medium is someone who can communicate with people that have crossed over. This is something that's really, I feel like I'm still digesting it because it's such a crazy. I never expected this from myself. I never thought that I was able to do this, but now that I've worked through, the fear as well as, learned how to develop my skills as a medium, I can comfortably say that I have this capability. So I wanted to talk about it because I am actually, this month I am attending a Mediumship Master Your Spirit Messages workshop by a very well-known psychic medium named Tony Stockwell at the Journey Within Church, which is a pretty well-known spiritualist church in New Jersey. And I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to just kind of shed light on it because I feel as far as mediums are concerned and psychic mediums and all that stuff, there's still a stigma around it. There's still people that don't believe in it. There's still people that shake their head about it. And I just wanted to put my story out there because I wanted to. Because I felt like if someone can understand that it's not something that's made up, that it's not, all smoke and mirrors, that maybe you can understand that it's simply just energy and there's nothing to be afraid of. So I'm just going to start at the very beginning because that's a really great place to start. And the first thing I want to say is that I was, and I still am, a very, very sensitive, highly sensitive person. Now, you've most likely heard the term empath, and that basically is someone who can read energy very well, but we also are sponges to energy, so we may feel others' anxiety, depression, anger, whatever, someone else in the room is going through, and there's other tendencies and there's other things that empaths carry, but that's basically, that's the short version. And I was always super sensitive to energy, period. And it wasn't until my late 20s when I really kind of opened my eyes up to personal and spiritual development that I understood that this sensitivity was actually a thing. And there was so many people that have the same quirks as I did. And after I learned about it and after I learned how to protect my energy and ground my energy and use this more as a superpower than as a curse, I made it a point to help others, learn how to take control of it and, not be a victim of it. So there's that. And my mediumship journey started, I would say my first mediumistic experience was in 2013. Now, I want to point out that before this event in 2013 that I'm going to tell you about, I had 4 dream visitations before that time, between the years of 2005 and 2012. So, what a dream visitation is when someone who has passed over connects with you through your dreams. Now, it's a little different. A dream visitation is actually very different than an actual dream where, you know you're dreaming and it feels like a dream and you see someone. These visitations are extremely real. You feel like you're living your life, like it's actual real life. Like, that's the only way I can explain it to you, is that you feel like you're in this room with the person that has crossed over, and you can literally feel the tabletop, and you can, see their wrinkles, see the colors of their eyes, and everything is just so third dimensional. And that happened to me 4 times. And all 4 times I would wake up in the middle of the night so scared and so freaked out where I couldn't go back to sleep. And the visitation, the dream felt so incredibly real that I had to Google the person's obituary just to make sure that that they've actually passed. Like, it was scary. It was really I was really freaked out. And once, I woke up screaming, and my husband, well, my boyfriend at the time, was like, "Are you okay?" And I told him, I was like, "I don't know. I don't know." And I told him that I had a visitation, like I had a dream of my grandfather, and I it felt real, and I had to grab my phone and Google his obituary just to confirm that it wasn't real, and I was really freaked out. And that happened 4 times before this encounter. So now, after the dream visitations, in 2013, I signed up to go to a mediumship platform reading. So what basically that is exactly what you see on TV, what Teresa Caputo does, what John Edwards does, where they're on a stage of some sort and they're just kind of grabbing evidence from people in spirit and communicating it to the audience. So I went there with my grandmother and my aunt, and our intention was to see if we can get a message from my grandfather, who passed in 2005. So we get in, and it was a big restaurant, and I walked in to the restaurant, and when you walk into this restaurant, the actual event was in like a catering room to the left-hand side. So you walk in, and you're at the little station where they seat you, and as soon as I walked in, I had this clear, utter knowing that Chris was there. All I can tell you was that it was an intense energy shift. I don't know how else to describe it. And Chris was my sister-in-law's brother, who passed 18 months prior to this. Now, like I said, I wasn't too friendly with Chris. We were cordial. We knew each other, but he wasn't the person that I was intending on trying to get a message from. But I felt this intense energy shift, and then we walked, and then the server walked us to our table, and I remember my aunt looking at me from across the table, and she just says, "It looks like you've seen a ghost." And I just said, I think so. So, okay. So then, we sit down and everything starts, and the medium starts connecting. So she gets into a meditative state to, connect. And the first spirit that comes through was my grandfather. Now, this is a room of 80 people, like a legit 80 people in this room. And the first spirit that comes through was my grandfather. She spent a lot of time communicating a lot of messages that he had. And then during all of this, she just stopped and she looked at me and she said, "There's someone here for you." And I just thought to myself, I know that there's someone here for me. And she said, "There's no family communicate. It doesn't feel like family. It feels like, he's your friend." And I said, yes. And, I got some messages from Chris and I passed them along to my sister-in-law, and that was that. That was that. I didn't even think twice about it. I had a young child at the time. I didn't think anything of my weird energetic shift because, I have felt that before in some situations growing up, and I just, you just don't think about it. You don't think that it's anything. So that was in 2013. And then, life happened and everything evolved. And then I started a daily meditation practice back in 2017. So I started this daily meditation practice, and within about 2 weeks, I started getting messages, messages or downloads. And I just shrugged it off as, imagination and, didn't think anything of it. There's the fear again. So as I start my daily meditation practice, this is another event that happened. So back in September of 2017, I had to get an emergency tooth extraction. This is a really personal story, but it's part of my story, so I have to say it. Back in September 2017, I had to get an emergency tooth extraction. One of my wisdom teeth was coming in all lopsided and it was really hurting. So with that, I had to go down to a hospital that did emergency teeth extractions about 45 minutes away from my home. So I went ahead and I went, and as I was waiting to get the work done in the office, I just got this download that my friend Michael was buried close by. Now, Michael was a dear friend of mine, and he tragically passed in, when did he pass? He passed in 2016, I believe. And I never went to his funeral. I attended his wake, so I did not know exactly where he was buried, which was kind of weird because it literally, all I knew was that I had this download that just said, "Mike's buried near here." So I went ahead and checked it out, and sure than shit, he was exactly 8 minutes away from where I was. So I decided after the tooth extraction that I would go ahead and visit his grave. So after I got my wisdom teeth pulled out, I went ahead and headed over to the cemetery that he is buried. So I get to the cemetery. It's not too big of a cemetery, but there is at least 1,000 graves. You drive in and then there's a U, and I was at a point in the U where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, how am I going to find his grave? Because there's no office, there's no book where I can search it. And from what I saw so far, all the graves, the different times of death were scattered. There were people that passed in 1970 next to people who passed in 2007. So it wasn't even by, time of death. So I didn't know how to even find him. So I just kind of gave up to the universe and I stated out loud. I just stopped my car and I said, okay, I'm giving this 10 minutes. I'm going to look for his grave for 10 minutes. If I don't find it, I'm just going to send him light and love and I'm going to head back home. So I stop my car, get out of the car, and as soon as I start walking, I feel the same energy shift that I felt in 2013. I felt that energy shift. I really wish that I can explain it better than just like the energy shift, but that's exactly what it is. It is so subtle, but if you're sensitive to energy, you can sense it, you feel it. So with that energy shift, I just kind of closed my eyes and I said, okay, just show me where to go. So I kind of turned right and then I started walking. And, you know, I'm walking slowly, looking at all the graves lined up. And all of the sudden, I hit this one row. And I felt as if I couldn't move anymore. Like, I felt like I couldn't even pick up my leg to even take a step to the next row. And I just kind of went with it. I trusted spirit. I just trusted what I was getting. And I just closed my eyes and I said, am I going left or right? And I just turned right. And I started walking and I was looking at the graves and I was seeing, you know, I was seeing people that passed in 1940 and I was seeing, you know, people that passed in 2015. And I was walking slowly looking at the graves. And then all of a sudden, I saw Michael's grave. And this is when my jaw dropped and my hands went to my mouth and I looked around to see if anyone was like there to experience this with me. And I just stopped and I said, you know, I spoke with him and it was a really beautiful experience. And I, again, because of fear, because I'm, you know, I was brought up in a very logical mindset, I didn't think anything of this. I just thought it was kind of magic and I dubbed it as that and that was it. Like that, you know, I didn't think I was a medium at this point. You know, I just thought it was a miracle. So when I get home, I have to tell my husband like what just happened. And he was the one that looked at me and says, maybe you're a medium. And I just looked at him and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, like whatever. And, you know, we just go through life, you know, every day. I keep on meditating and I, you know, as I deepen my meditation practice, as, you know, my time meditating gets into the 30-minute ranges and stuff, you get really deep into meditation. Like if you're a meditator and you really go deep, like, you know, you just lose, you're just in a different dimension. And the deeper I went into meditation, the more messages and the more downloads I was getting, the more visuals of people that I've never met before were coming into my mind's eye. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Is this my subconscious mind playing tricks on me? I'm Googling it. I'm like, what is going on? So, you know, I finally decide, after months of this happening to me during meditation, I finally decide to take a class on mediumship, not thinking anything of it, you know, just seeing like if this is actually like the real deal, like if this is actually happening to me. So I went ahead and did a mediumship class. It was like 11 to 5. And I, you know, within those, how many hours? 6 hours, I channeled accurately, like a lot. Like I was bringing names forward. I was bringing the how they died. I was bringing relationships up, and it was just like I was still just like, did I actually do that? I remember driving home and I was like, holy shit, I'm a medium. Like, just like, I was shocked by it, and I'm still shocked by it, but that was last year. So after that, I kept on meditating. I kept on, working on, deepening my evidential mediumship. And then I got a download that it was time for me to find a teacher. So I was like, how do I find a teacher? Like, how do I find a teacher? And so there was a Facebook ad for meetup.com, like right after I got this download, like within a couple hours. So I go, maybe I'll check Meetup. So I go to Meetup, and there is a psychic and mediumship development course happening every Monday, 40 minutes away from my home. So I start going, and I connect with the teacher, and she's amazing. And, I've been going on and off since, God, for a year now. And my mediumship journey has just evolved, and it's just been absolutely beautiful. And I can just tell you, that you don't know how connected you are to spirit until you silence your mind. I didn't know that I was a medium until I was able to, quiet my mind, quiet my thoughts, and give an opening to allow spirit to come through. I mean, can you imagine, if you were to take the time out of your busy day to just quiet your mind and sit with your soul, what kind of magic can happen through that? And this is why I'm just such an advocate for meditation, because it not only deepens your connection to spirit, but it just brings things out in you that you just never knew you even had. It can bring out creativity. It can bring out intuition. It can bring out so much in you. And that's why I'm just such an advocate to meditation, because I promise you, if it wasn't for my meditation practice, I probably would have went through life not knowing this, not knowing that I have a connection to spirit, that I'm able to bring forth evidence and messages from people that have crossed over. So I'm just like smiling, because it's really just such a beautiful story. Like, I really love my mediumship story, because it shows you, and it shows people that you are so much more than what you think you are. You have so much more capability within you that you decide you have. We just need to quiet our minds and not listen to the stories that we tell ourselves, because we're fucking magical. We really are. And don't ever think that you're not, because my story is a beautiful example of how, when we listen to our higher selves and we connect to it, it gives us gifts. And I am so fortunate, and I am so grateful that I found meditation, because it hasn't just taught me and showed me my path of mediumship, but it has taught me patience, and it has taught me kindness and gratitude and love and connection and devotion. So I really hope that you just don't ever think that you are not magical. Don't. We all have intuition. Every single one of us have intuition. And when we quiet our mind, our monkey mind, our daily to-do lists, that's when intuition gets stronger. that's when our connection to our souls get powerful. And that's when it comes through. That's when the magic comes through. So you guys, thank you so much for listening to my story, for tuning in, for being open to it. I really appreciate all the love that you guys have been giving me on iTunes, and just coming back every single week and listening to me talk about woo. It's been a pleasure, guys, and I'll see you next week.